We can't repaint 4,000 locomotives and 200,000 cars overnight. So the old labels will be around for a while. Let them be your reminders that we've combined the best of two great railroads. But from now on, call us Penn Central. Our passenger operations lost $85 million last year.
For the last 4 years, it's been in bankruptcy. So far, it's been a downhill run.
Norfolk Southern, what's your function?
The Pennsylvania Railroad started off in the 1830s as a canal system. The railroad would take people to a canal, then a few miles later they would switch back to rail. The system didn't work, so the canal system was not interpreted with the railroad anymore. Back to the railroad itself. The Pennsy was the first chartered railroad in the United States. It used horses until it switched to steam in the 1840s. The PRR was a small railroad in the Philadelphia area, so they wanted to expand out west toward Pittsburgh. Right outside of Altoona, Pennsylvania, or what was then the sites for Altoona, the Pennsy ran into a problem. The valley was too steep to go down and up again, so the Pennsy ran tracks around the mouth of the valley. The horseshoe-shaped curve was named Horseshoe Curve because it was shaped like a horseshoe. They expanded all over the north. The PRR later became the largest railroad in North America. They were called the Standard Railroad of the World. The Pennsy started looking at its neighbors. The Baltimore and Ohio was taken control of by the Pennsy, and the Pennsy basically cut the B&O from reaching the rest of the continent. The New York Central was also a big competitor. The PRR tried to sabotage a main line of the New York Central, but it failed. In the late 1890s and 1900s, the Pennsy and the New York Central started merging with smaller lines to grow. The Pennsy and the New York Central were rivals, but also had some of the same ideas. Pennsy changed from wood to steel passenger cars in the 1900s. This was due to cars catching fire in a wreck. The line had suffered worse, though. The wage of employees of most railroads was cut. This made strikes break out, and riots. In Pittsburgh, crews burned down the station and the sheds. The army was sent in, but it retreated to a roundhouse. Then the strikers set fire to a rail car and pushed it into the shed. When the army came out, the rioters beat them up. Yes, the army was beat up by the people of America, Pittsburgh specifically. After the Pittsburgh strike, Pennsylvania Railroad 7002 reached 100 miles an hour. Back then, a train that reached 50 miles an hour was pretty fast. The engine would later be preserved. In the 19-teens, if you were 30 seconds late to a station, you would have to give an explanation why you were late. In the 30s, the railroad did pretty good, even though the Great Depression was going on. In 1935, the railroad ordered a set of GG1 locomotives. They would work on the brand new electric Northeast Corridor. The GG1s were a fan favorite and still are. Another engine fans loved was the T1. Both engines were streamlined or more aerodynamic. Through the 40s, the railroad transported goods to be shipped to Europe. After World War II, the Pennsy fell into a decline which it would never recover. In 1968, the New York Central and the Pennsylvania Railroad discussed a merger. The Penn Central was formed in 1968.
I can't believe you've done this.
In 1970, it declared bankruptcy. And in 1976, the Penn Central was ordered by the U.S. government to merge with other lines to make Conrail. In 1998, Conrail was split between CSX and Norfolk Southern. Norfolk Southern would paint a bunch of engines to look like the engines on the railroads that they were merged together on. Their heritage fleet, if you will. The Pennsy, the Penn Central, and Conrail got engines. Now we will visit the sites of the PRR. Next episode, we will visit the Horseshoe Curve.